Hello and welcome. Today I'll show you how to configure transaction history and batching on the DeltaV FB3000 RTU using DeltaV FBxConnect. First, I will show you how to set up transaction history with the default setup. Then I'll demonstrate running a sample batch, and then I'll review with you the transaction history record created by the batch process. This is part of our Tech Tip series, designed to help you get the most value from your FB3000 RTU. So you may ask, what is transaction history? Well, transaction history is a record of key operational and commercial parameters for each batch or other transaction type event. It provides an audit trail for operations and commercial purposes. On the FB3000 RTU, transaction history lets you define numeric or string parameters to capture during a transaction. When a batch starts, for instance, the FB3000 records the start time, and when it ends, it records the end time and takes a snapshot of the selected parameters. Let's get started. So I'm in FBxConnect today. I've already got a liquid linear meter set up here with some simulated values to get simulated flow for example purposes. I will go ahead and go to the history, default history setup display, and I will go through the questions here. So for gas meter setup, we don't have any gas meters today, so I will skip over that. For liquid meter setup, I've got one liquid meter, so I will choose yes to this question about if I want to set up default history for the liquid meters here. I'm going to leave these at 0. These are in case you want extra spare string or numeric parameters for later use. We auto-populate 2 spares by default, so these would be additional spares on top of those 2 extra strings and numerics for just in case purposes later on. I will go ahead and answer this question. Do I want to log periodic data in transaction history? Yes, but it won't actually let me select yes until I choose some of these options here. So I'm going to enable the daily, weekly, and monthly transaction history records. So these will automatically create a transaction record on the day, weekly, and monthly time periods. For hourly, if I choose enable here, it will automatically create an hourly transaction record. But for today, I will choose enable/break with batch. What this does is it logs a transaction record at the end of each hour, but in addition, it will break that hour if the batch were to end. So let's say a batch ended halfway through an hour. You would actually get 2 records for that hour. One for that includes the part of the hour where the batch ended, and one hourly record there that includes the part of the hour that was the start of the new batch. So I'm happy with these selections here, and then I'll go over here and hit apply default history. I'll select yes and then wait for the parameters to get set up in the FB3000 RTU. Setup is successful, so I'll select OK here, and then I'll go to history, group configuration, transaction history to show you what this default history setup auto-populated for the different parameters. I'll click show history points here in my transaction group number 1, and you can see we automatically filled in 3 string parameters, leaving 2 for spares. And then we've also got a number of auto-populated numeric parameters for your various volumes that you and other parameters you may want to use. You could, of course, choose different parameters if you don't like our defaults. And to do that, you can simply drag and drop from the field here. So let's say I want to add in the site name to these string parameters here. I can go in the point picker here, drag and drop the site name. This one's called my FB3000, and that'll appear in each transaction record. So I'll go ahead and save here. I will close out of this, And then I will go ahead and show you how to run a simulated batch for today's demonstration. I will go to Station and click the batching button here, which launches a pop-up. So there's a few things you can set on this page. You can set up your own custom batch identifier. You can see here there's start and end timestamps. And then there's a button here that if I click, it will start a batch. And then if I click again, it will end a batch. So you can see when I ended it, it filled in the end time. And there, you can also see here, we've got a point picker. Now what I could do here is I could perhaps, rather than log into FBxConnect to start and end the batch, maybe I want to press a button. So I could hook a button up to a DI on the FB3000 RTU and use this point picker to browse to that DI. So the trigger would be that push button that you might want to use to start and end the batch. This checkbox here allows continuous batching. What that means is it will automatically start the next batch when I end the previous one. So I'll show you that here. So I'll start the batch, and then you can see if I wait a few seconds and then I end that batch, it will go ahead and then start the next batch. So you can see the previous batch end time and the current batch start time are now the same. So if I click that more times, it updates both those fields, and then you can still see the previous batch start time here. All right, so now that I've ran a few example batches, I will go show you how to view that data in FBxConnect. So I'll cancel out of this, go to the Monitor tab up here, go to History, and view the transaction history here. So I've got my group 1 selected. I've chosen subtype as batch, and then I'll press view here. Now I can see the batches I've run, the begin timestamp, the end timestamp, the transaction number, and then we get into the different strings and different parameters that I configured with that default history setup. So I'll close out of this and actually show you another nice feature of the FB3000 RTU and FBxConnect here is that we've got these optional viewable legal event checkboxes and alarm start sequence checkboxes here. So I'll check all of those and then review the same file of records, and you can see now that there's new columns here showing the start of the batch legal events and the end of the batch legal events. So this allows you to see if there are events taking place during that batch run. So you can see here I do have quite a good number of events. So that may be an indicator to you as the customer that, hey, maybe I need to take a look at my events since there shouldn't be that many events happening during the batch. The same could be true for the alarms. Now my alarms didn't change, so there were no new alarms during the batch, but in your use case there may be. So that's a great feature that we added here to help you determine if you have something that you may need to further investigate with your FB3000 RTU. All right, so I'll close out of that, and then I want to show you how to generate reports of those transaction records. So I'll go to reports here, I'll go to history, transaction history here, and you can see that I've got the same sort of checkboxes here, but now I can pick a format for a file, CSV or PDF. For today's demo, I will choose the CSV option to run that report. It will generate a CSV file, which I can view, and you can open it up, and you can see it's got the same information that I showed on the monitor, but it's now available in the CSV file for your own audit keeping purposes. Next up, I'm going to show you some advanced features of the transaction history in FBxConnect. So if I go to history here, you can see there's an advanced setup. So let's say in addition to this batch information, I wanted another set of transaction data to capture perhaps the pressure and temperature of my wellhead, for example. I could go ahead and do that by going into the advanced setup, increasing the number of history groups here from 1 to 2, pressing apply number of groups. I'll say yes here. And then click on this blue button here for transaction history group details. And it opens up a pop-up for the advanced settings. So you can see here, here's my already configured liquid linear meter batching group. I will come up with I want a new tag here, so I will call this general group because it's general data, not metering specific. And then I will change the instance to 2 here. And I just want one string point for today's demo, and I will just pick 2 numeric points. We default to 200 transaction records, but you can see here my memory utilization is pretty low, so I have a lot of room to add records. So I could add, I think, up to 65,000 transaction records here if I wanted, and you can see here what that did to my memory usage. And the great thing about the transaction history feature in FBxConnect and FB3000 is that it's very flexible. We've given you the ability to flex the quantity of string, numeric, and transaction records. I believe the most numeric points you can have in a group is 650, but that still gives you quite a lot of flexibility depending on your use cases. So I'm happy with this setup. I will go ahead and save the group tags here, and then I'll close out this display. I will save my settings in this advanced setup. It will go be applied to the device now. And then I'll go ahead and go set up what parameters I want to take up space for that string and 2 numerics I added. So go back to history here, go to group configuration, go to transaction history now, and then you can see I have a second group, which is called general now, because that's the tag I filled in. And I will go ahead and show history points here. So I don't have anything configured here, but let's say I want to put my site name in this string parameter here, and then I'll switch over on the filter here to the numeric data type, and I've got a simulated pressure and temperature in my user data points, so I will grab those from this list here. There's my pressure and my temperature here, and I'm happy with this now, so I'll press save. I'll close out, and then what the great thing is about the transaction history general groups is we allow you to configure an auto snapshot period. So that auto triggers the record at a set time period. For instance, maybe for your use case, you want 5 minutes here, so you just type in 300 seconds. So for today's demo, to be able to show you information more quickly, I'm going to go down to the minimum supported snapshot period, which is 3 seconds. I will save that. And then you can start seeing this last sequence number here incrementing, letting you know that it is actually now recording this transaction record every 3 seconds based on this auto snapshot period. So let's go ahead and view the monitor for that now to see what it looks like there. So I'll go back to monitor, history, transaction history. And now instead of group 1, I will pick group 2 general here. And I don't want the batch information. I want this snapshot data. So I will hit view here. And now you can see I've got the end timestamp, and I've got the same legal and alarm events I showed before, but now I've got the string I selected and the snapshot of my pressure and temperature at that every 3-second time period. Now that you've seen my demo, I think you've realized that the transaction history functionality with the FB3000 RTU delivers a significant value to your operations by offering robust and easily configurable transaction history records, with the ability to log both numeric and string data based on a user-defined trigger if you so choose, or the batching functionality trigger. Customers can gain precise insight into every transaction batch, so you can help ensure compliance, traceability, and accountability in your operations. The FBxConnect interface allows you to easily configure, view, filter, and export this transaction history data in multiple formats. So by leveraging these capabilities, you can enhance operational efficiency, quickly identify and resolve issues, and maintain a comprehensive audit trail. For questions, please contact your Emerson Impact Partner, local representative, or Guardian support. For more training, Emerson's Educational Services offers in-depth, hands-on options, both in-person and virtual. Thank you for watching. For more information, visit emerson.com/FB3000 RTU.